Welcome, everybody, to Transmissions from the Outpost here on the Outpost Unknown YouTube channel. My name is Matthew, joined tonight by Jennii.
Hi.
And by the time everyone's listening to this, I'm uploading it at midnight because right now we're recording it, I don't know, a few hours before Thanksgiving. But everyone will see this at midnight on Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And Jennii, since it is Thanksgiving, what are we talking about tonight?
So today we are talking about the movie Thanksgiving by Eli Roth.
Yes. Yep. So we went and saw it last night. I think it was you, Jeff, and myself. The vast majority of our friends flaked out on us, which is fine. But we all went to the theater last night to check out this, I guess, holiday themed slasher film. Now, Eli Roth, of course, most horror fans know Eli Roth. He's very famous for, Cabin Fever, Hostel. He does a lot of stuff in the horror genre. And we could talk a little bit about how we feel about his films before we get into it. But this is actually a feature film that's based on a short trailer that was in Quentin Tarantino and Robert Rodriguez's Grindhouse film way back in 2007. So that was a double feature, Planet Terror and Death Proof, and then a bunch of different filmmakers. I think Edgar Wright did one, and Rob Zombie did one. We did a bunch of trailers in between the double feature, and Thanksgiving was one. Now, you actually got to witness the Thanksgiving trailer right before we recorded this. So, what was sort of your reaction to that trailer?
Well, I've seen both, the new one and the old one now. And the old one, gosh, a little bit more, I guess I'll use the word vulgar, a little bit more grotesque, maybe more
Yeah.
sexualized.
It goes a bit harder than the movie.
Yeah, it goes a little bit harder. Still kind of the same vibe, like the kind of retro, spooky, throwback kind of vibe to that. But yeah, definitely a little bit more raw.
Yeah, I think because I didn't rewatch that trailer Thanksgiving before we saw the movie last night, but I watched it today, and I had forgotten about it. It's been years, 16 years since that came out. And I was kind of like, oh, here's a lot of scenes. You could tell they took some moments from that trailer and put
Mhm.
them in this new film and everything. But yeah, it goes a lot harder in terms of, I think the big thing is the trampoline sequence. I think it's a
Mhm.
lot more yowza
Yeah.
in the trailer than it kind of turns out to be in the film. And that could just be because it's a big studio, and the big studio is probably like, look, if you want this in theaters, you got to cut some of that harder edge stuff down.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff from that trailer is in this
Mhm.
I guess the feature. What are your thoughts on Eli Roth in general? Are you a fan of Eli Roth, or do you have any particular favorite Eli Roth movies?
I mean, I really like pretty much everything that I've seen by him. I remember Hostel just being really kind of extreme, and thinking, oh wow, this guy really has a vision when he does these movies, and he wants to kind of make you uncomfortable or grossed out, and so yeah, I was pretty excited to see the movie, especially with him being involved. But yeah, yeah, definitely a fan.
Cool. Well, it's good because we'll have differing opinions because I hate Eli Roth. So it was actually kind of funny because when I got to the theater, Jeff was there, and Jeff's like, "Do you realize this is an Eli Roth movie, right? Like, why are you here? Like, why would you want to be interested in this movie?" I got to say, like the trailers for the initial trailers for this movie didn't mention Eli Roth at all, and I had actually forgotten that he did a short trailer for Grindhouse called Thanksgiving. So I was intrigued by the trailers initially. Then I found out it was an Eli Roth movie, and I was like, "Oh God, here we go." But I was like, "The trailer looks good. I'm interested. So let's set up a time we can all go check it out." So generally speaking, not a fan of Eli Roth or his movies. I can't think of one that I'm really like, "Ooh, I like this movie. I'm gonna watch it again," sort of
Hmm.
thing. But I was willing to give this one a shot. So we sit down. What's the basic synopsis, like the basic plot of Thanksgiving? Like if you had to explain it to a friend, all the friends out there on YouTube, how would you explain what the plot of this movie is?
So I mean, definitely we're gonna have a lot of spoilers since we're talking about this. So spoiler alert.
Oh yes,
Um,
yeah. Thank you. Spoilers.
so yeah, it's a small town vibe that has a lot of things that are popular there. The what is it called? Save Mart or something. Uh,
Right Mart.
Right
Yeah.
Mart. Yeah. So it's kind of
Opens
centered.
on Black Friday.
Yeah. So Black Friday, the sale after Thanksgiving that used to be huge before Amazon, and the family involved that makes probably the most profit from the Black Friday sales. So it's about that family. And I was also kind of thinking how there's not really like a super just one main character. It's really kind of spread out kind of evenly among a lot of those
It's an
people.
ensemble.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's definitely an ensemble piece.
yeah. So the basis, I guess, was just all the people involved just showing their true colors on camera, being
Yeah.
shady at the
Well, essentially things go awry,
yeah,
right?
like
So the prologue of the movie is essentially 1 year before the actual movie takes place, and there's a Black Friday event. Things go wrong. People just trample each other to death inside this Right Mart. Everything goes crazy. People die, and then you fast forward a year, and suddenly this group of, I guess they're teenagers, right?
yeah, high
Yeah, I
school
think
kids.
they're a bunch of teenagers, high
Mhm.
school kids. They start getting their social media and they're getting tagged by like on Instagram with weird, creepy stuff. And it turns out there is a slasher running around. His name it goes by John Carver in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which I believe is an actual thing. I think John Carver was an actual person in Plymouth, Massachusetts, way back in the day that started Thanksgiving or something. And yeah, he's running around. He's killing people, utilizing various aspects of Thanksgiving. So I know there's a one scene where he actually bastes a woman before he
Mhm.
sticks her in the oven and cooks her as a turkey,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. And it's essentially a who done it, right?
Mhm.
Who is out killing everybody? There's red herrings everywhere. You don't know which character it may or may not be. So that's essentially it. It's your basic standard slasher, going back to like the classic slasher movie tropes. So, what did you think of Thanksgiving? What are your thoughts?
So I think I've complained the last few movies that I just wasn't getting scared and getting the jump scares. And this movie brought back the jump scares and I loved that. I like that feeling because it takes you out of space and time and I just love that. That's like such a good vibe. So I really liked that it had that and the kind of the way they filmed things. I wasn't able to like predict really what was going on. Like they were actually way ahead of me with what was happening, so I really liked that. It wasn't as predictable.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
So you didn't see who the killer was coming or anything
I
like that?
really I really didn't. They kind of throw a lot of confusion there, because this girl's got the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, and then like
Yeah. They're really doing their best to try to make you think it could be anybody.
yeah, and I really wasn't expecting it to be the person it ended up being.
Okay.
But yeah, I actually
Cool.
really liked it. I liked the editing. I liked the music a lot too. And another
Okay.
another thing was it wasn't one of those movies that's so dark you can't see what's going on. Like when there's a really
Oh
scary
yeah.
scene that's in the woods in a poorly lit area. Sometimes you just are hearing noises and you can't see anything. Um, I thought the way they filmed this, they still had like really decent like cinematography going on and lighting and everything. So
Yeah.
nothing was really lost in those scenes, even though they were, like I couldn't help they were in a basement or abandoned house or whatever. But yeah, I was actually
Yeah.
really
Yeah. Yeah.
pleasantly surprised and really enjoyed it.
Cool. Just sort of piggybacking on what you said about how well it was lit, I agree with you. And there's a lot of stuff where you can kind of see, a character in the foreground, but then they'll have John Carver slinking around in the background and stuff, and you can see him back there,
Hmm.
not like completely lit, but well enough that he or she. I won't spoil who the Carver is necessarily. So, was there any negatives? Was there anything about the film that you were like, I'm not too hot on that or what they did with it?
um, yeah, not really. I mean, there was maybe a little bit of lack on like character building, like to kind of understand more where these people were coming from. Like it seemed kind of random. Like we knew that the one girl, like the kind of more main girl, was the daughter of Right Mart, but we didn't really know much about like her friends, even though they're in it so much. And so there's like a kind of random scene where one of them apparently is like what is she, like a Russian girl, and her dad shows up speaking Russian or
Yeah,
something, and it was like, what's going on here?
it's like like he's an Eastern European gangster or
Yeah,
something, and he's
so
going
I
to take
was
away to Florida.
yeah, so I was like, well, this is a little late in the movie for this random character development, but okay. Well,
Yeah,
so maybe there was a little bit of that lacking. And then it was also kind of confusing. It was like, are they still in high school? Did they already graduate? And they're just kind of reminiscing and reeling in the years because they often showed her with a
yeah.
Harvard sweatshirt on. So it was kind of confusing. But
Yeah, and I wasn't sure. Like, I don't know if she's going to Harvard, like she's
yeah,
graduating and she's going there, or what. I do agree with you in terms of like the characters are basically paper thin.
yeah,
There's a lot of characters in this movie.
a
You don't
lot.
know anything about them. They're just there to die, right? Which
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily call that a negative if you're a fan of slasher movies, because I mean, how many characters in Friday the 13th movies are just there to die, and we still get a lot of enjoyment out of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I guess from my perspective, one thing I wanted to mention that I think is really cool about what you said earlier was the jump scares. I think jump scares can be very divisive amongst horror fans. Like some horror fans, like I hate jump scares. They feel like it's like a cheap sort of tactic.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually refreshing to find someone like yourself that's like, I like them. It's fun. They got me, and
Oh,
I can attest. I was sitting right next to her. She jumped multiple times, so it definitely worked. It definitely worked. Um, I will say the good. Okay, so I'm on record saying I'm not a big fan of Eli Roth movies, but what I will say up front is that this is the best Eli Roth movie that I have seen. It's the one I had the most enjoyment out of. I think there is some funny comedic moments in this that actually genuinely made me chuckle. And if anyone knows me, it's very hard for a movie to make me laugh. Very, very hard. So I was actually not expecting to laugh during an Eli Roth movie. And I actually was like, wow, okay, I'm having a good time here. I thought some of the kills were pretty cool. There is a lot of practical gore effects, which I know that we saw it in. I wouldn't call it a completely packed theater, but there was quite a few people
mm-hmm.
watching it on a Tuesday night in our theater, and people were, yelling, and they were getting the reaction that I'm sure Eli Roth wanted them to get when, oh, there's this one particular gore scene that I really liked where it's like the guy sitting in the front of the truck and the thing goes through and goes through the back of his head and
Mm-hmm.
it's like through his thing, blood is gushing. It
Mm-hmm.
just keeps cutting back to it, right? So the audience is initially like, ah, cuts away, and then just cuts right back to
Mm-hmm.
that same thing again.
Yeah, everyone in the
That's
car's
good.
reaction.
Yes, and I will tip my cap to Mr. Roth. There are some good stuff. There's some good sequences and good stuff in here that I enjoyed. I think my main problem with the movies, I do feel like it was way too long. This the trailer that we watched. I remember back when I saw it in Grindhouse, and I'm just like, this seems like a fun little goofy thing, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, a slasher killer on Thanksgiving utilizing turkey basters and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This feels like almost 2 hours long. I think you even mentioned it was like this is almost a 2 hour movie
Yeah, I
that
think
we're
an
seeing. I was
hour
like,
and
I don't, I
47.
don't,
Mm.
I don't know if it needed to be that long. I think they could have chopped 20, 25 minutes down and it would have been a much tighter, because it goes a long time between death
Mhm.
scenes in a lot of cases. And you're just kind of like, all right.
Mhm.
Because again, you don't know any of these characters.
Yeah.
You don't care about these characters at all, really. And so you're
Mhm.
just kind of waiting for that next death scene. I can't say that I knew that who the killer was going to be, but I was leaning that direction as I was watching it
Mhm.
because they made again, I won't spoil it, but they did make to me a little obvious in places that could be the killer.
Mhm.
But I fully admit I didn't say aha, it's him but I was leaning that direction.
Mhm.
But overall, I got to admit, I had a good time. I mean, I'm shocked. It's an Eli Roth film, and I never thought I would say I actually enjoyed an Eli Roth movie. But I did actually enjoy it. I thought it was a fun slasher film. I thought it was, other than you, like you said, paper thin characters, and it
Mhm.
goes on a little too long. I thought the kills were fun.
Mhm.
Um, I do think, having watched the Thanksgiving trailer, people need to know you're not getting that movie when you come into this movie. If
Mhm.
you were a fan of that 2007 short, parody trailer that he did, you're not getting that.
Mhm.
I remember even back then the big thing was the girl on the trampoline, right?
Mhm.
And where the knife goes when she does the
Mhm.
splits.
Mhm.
You get that scene here, but you're not getting sort of like the exploitation
Mhm. Yeah, I
nudity.
don't
You're
think there
you're not
was
getting a
any nudity. I don't think. Yeah.
nope, nothing like that. The kills, like for example, I think she rather than the knife going up her hoo ha in the trailer. She steps on it, right,
Oh yeah.
and then it sort of like stabs her a couple times, like in the body, and that's
Yeah.
how it is. So if you are someone who's like, ooh, it's going to be that 2007 thing in feature film, that's not what you're getting. You can tell they watered it down
Hmm.
in order to get the release. But I thought the killer. What did you think of the killer? Like the look of the killer and what they were doing?
I really liked the look of the killer. He had a weird body movement. The way he his just the way the
Yeah,
presence that he made, I thought was really interesting. Um, and I don't know if that was more credited to the acting or to the filming. Just the way he moved was really strategic and
I
weird.
agree.
I
Yeah,
liked
he
that.
did have a unique movement to him for sure.
Yeah, and he was pretty. I guess what would the word be, like agile and fast.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty unexpected. It wasn't. I mean, I guess it was a little bit more. He was a little bit more frightening. Like I'd be more scared if I was in a situation where a person's coming at me like that over and over again, and I'm locked in a restaurant or something.
yeah.
Like it's kind of scary.
Yeah, and they do the cool sort of the slasher sort of gimmick where it's like everybody's got one of these masks on
Hmm.
Thanksgiving, right? They're literally giving them away at the diner, so everyone's got one on. So you really have no idea who this killer could possibly be. And I thought, like in general, how it ended, I would say I wish it would have ended with a little bit more impactful than it actually did.
Hmm.
It ends a little too grandiose for a typical slasher film, because again I'm like a traditionalist when it comes to slasher films. I'm like, make it like the 80s, right? I want
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But in general, like, it's a good time. I mean, it's a good time to watch over the Thanksgiving holiday. Take your mom, take your grandma out to see Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. Any other comments that you wanted to mention about the film? Anything? Oh, we should point out that Jeff was with
Oh
us.
yeah, Jeff.
He could not be yeah, he couldn't be on the show tonight because he's actually traveling for Thanksgiving to go see his family. But he gave it a thumbs up. He said he really liked it. He thought it was really funny. I heard him laughing
Oh
quite a
yeah.
bit through through the course of the movie, so it really landed for him. But any other comments that you'd like to say about Eli Roth's Thanksgiving?
So one of the characters that I ended up feeling like was a really redeeming character was actually the stepmom. Um, they kind of give us
Oh,
they
okay.
kind of set us up to not like her because it's like the guy from Breitbart's new wife and his daughter and her don't really have a very good relationship. They're kind of like forced to be family. You're getting that vibe like, okay, her mother
Yeah,
passed, her dad remarried very quickly because he was depressed and whatever the situation was. They kind of set it up that we don't really like her.
yeah,
But the way she carried herself and for how long she lived through the scenes that she
that's
was
true.
put through was very impressive.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I thought she did. I was really stunned by her acting for those scenes,
yeah,
and just the whole setup of it was just so creepy, and it was almost like she knew exactly
yeah.
what to
No,
do in
I.
the situation. It was crazy. She reacted really
Mhm.
well with silence and being quiet and not being, letting herself up too easy. She survived for quite a while. She pretty much, makes it through the whole house, and
Oh, for sure.
yeah. So I really, really thought
Yeah,
that character was great. But yeah,
yeah. A lot of the characters actually put up a fight,
yeah, they put up
right?
a good
So
fight.
I think that's what a lot of slasher fans like to see the characters put up some sort of fight. Like ultimately, we want them all to die. We want to see the slasher do the
Mhm,
cool gore kill
mhm.
thing, stuff like that. But it was cool to kind of see her. Like, I remember one moment where I laughed on it is when he's basting her,
Yeah,
and then he puts like, what is he? He's
the
putting
sprig
like the
between
leafy
your toes,
greens
a little green.
in between her toes, and I'm just sitting here like, oh my god, like it's so absurd and funny.
Mhm,
It doesn't go as hard as the trailer does
mhm.
back in 2007, especially with some of the stuff that happens there. But I gotta say, I liked the movie more than I disliked it.
Mhm.
So yeah. So if you had to give this a letter grade, how would you rate Eli Ross Thanksgiving?
No, I definitely, I give it an A. I really enjoyed it.
Wow,
Yeah, I had very,
an
I
A.
had no expectations, and then I actually didn't even know till the day of that Patrick Dempsey was in it.
Oh
I
yeah,
think part of the extra length for that movie was just giving him more screen time to talk. He's a big
probably.
name, and that's not his
Yeah,
usual. type of acting. So I think that kind of made the movie a little longer, but I think that he did great. And yeah, I really liked it.
And hey,
Yeah.
okay. This may shock some people. This may shock some people. I know our friend Josh is watching this. He's eagerly anticipating what I thought of this. I'm going to give this a B minus. A
Wow.
B minus. Every other Eli Roth movie I've ever seen has been an F.
Yeah.
I hate them, but for whatever reason, I thought this was fun. Maybe it was more accessible to me because a lot of what he trades in is just like the super mean spirited, gory type horror, like hostels
Hmm.
and stuff like that, which is just not typically my thing. Generally, I like the more sort of fun, goofy type stuff,
Hmm.
and this one was sort of fun and goofy.
Hmm.
Now, would I have liked to have seen something more akin to the actual Grindhouse trailer? I think it would have been interesting if he would have actually, because it feels like he was either told that he couldn't do really what he wanted to do by somebody just to speak. Oh, we should also point out that the Grindhouse trailer has kind of like the filter to make it look like it's from the 70s on it. It's all aged and stuff like that.
Hmm.
This has nothing like that. So this is actually just a straight, legitimate looking film without any filters or anything
Hmm.
like that. Would you have rather, now that you've seen the Thanksgiving trailer, would you have preferred to see a movie in that style or the one that you got?
I preferred the newer style, just the clarity of it. Um,
Yeah,
I mean it's got to be certain clips. Like I don't really like it when the whole movie sometimes is like that. It's you know
yeah.
sometimes I honestly I have horrible vision too, so sometimes I have no idea what the heck I'm watching. So I liked that I could follow and see what was going on, and but I
Yeah.
still thought it still kept in like some of those like head chop scenes that were really gruesome. Like that mascot that got
Oh
its head
yeah.
chopped off, the turkey or whatever. But yeah, I
Yep.
thought they kept some
Yeah.
some of the stuff from that original trailer. Definitely some of it, but yeah.
Yes. They absolutely did, and I think the I was looking on IMDb. The guy that wrote the trailer in 2007 is also the guy who wrote this.
Oh, cool.
So it's taken what like 16 years for them to finally make this movie.
Hmm.
But I gotta say, I tip my cap again to Mr. Roth. I won't apologize for the rest of your crap, but I actually liked Thanksgiving. B minus for me. So that's it, everybody. That's Jennii and I's review of Thanksgiving on Outpost Unknown. Let us know what you think. Leave a comment down below and tell us who are we way off base? Did Eli Roth make another bad movie and we are just blinded by whatever, or do you agree with us and you loved it? Let us know in the comments below. So with that, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.